What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Cheeky Midweeky, where we are making strength and conditioning not boring anymore. And we do that by highlighting the practitioners in the field that make this the best field in the world, one of the best jobs possible. And we are talking with Coach Rusty Whitt. This is not his first time on the show. If you have not seen that episode, go back and watch it. We'll link it down below. But Coach and I met up at the CSCCA, and we've been trying to get another conversation, and here it is. So, Coach, thank you for coming on, brother. I greatly appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. How you guys doing?
I'm good, man. Like I said, you're in a new location now since the new job, or since we last talked.
Yeah.
How has that been? How has that transition been? Because I mean, you guys were successful, and now you have a new challenge.
Yeah.
Where's your mind at with that?
Well, coming from Troy, Alabama to New Orleans is a pretty drastic change. I mean, I grew to find Troy, Alabama pretty endearing, and you definitely have a more captive audience with your football team there. But the experience here at Tulane it's more along the lines of like when I worked at Texas Tech, some higher ranked players, not necessarily better, but higher ranking, like, 3-star, 4-star here and there. And the academic requirements and the reputation of Tulane is pretty doggone high. It's like a top 25 school in the United States. So we get just a different kind of student athlete who makes the choice of coming to Tulane based a lot on academics as well as what conference we're in and all that. So having to start a program over from scratch in January, I forgot how difficult it really is. I followed Kurt Hester, who's an outstanding strength coach. We all know that. His applications are different than mine, so we had to kind of reteach, learn from the players as well, and modify a bunch of things and develop a working relationship. So it's been enriching. It's been challenging, but overall, Coach Summerall came in with a very good plan. And it's been good so far. We start summer conditioning on May 28th.
Yeah, because the calendar is a little bit different this year. Coming in the day after Memorial Day. You talked about, being in New Orleans, and I heard about this from the LSU staff, but during Mardi Gras, the stuff just legit shut down there for you too?
It's really hard to find a parking spot, and the players, we gave the players get a Mardi Gras break from Friday. Yes. They get a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Fat Tuesday off. So we wisely put a 6 a.m. Run day on Wednesday when they came back. We had warned them and gave them a plan of action, but I don't think they really cared too much. They got friends coming in, family coming in. It's Mardi Gras. They're going to have fun. They're going to do what they do. So you have to factor in that there's going to be some dehydration in there, and don't do any top end running after Fat Tuesday. But it's a wild city, there's something for everybody down here. The music scene, artistry, fishing, whatever you want to do, it's all down here. Now, you got to be careful with the drive-in. There's a place you can go get like drive-in margaritas and just drive out. It could be kind of hazardous, I would think. But the food, the culture, it's a wild. Now, I lived in Lafayette for a while, so I got a little taste of it, but it's a very live place to be, and our players have a lot of distractions, and you have to kind of work around that and understand that.
And that's one of the things that I'd like for you to try to help our younger strength coaches or anybody that's living in those quote unquote distraction cities. What is your best recommendations as somebody that's been in the profession for such a long time? How do you allow them to be, the 18 to 22-year-old people and humans that are experiencing life, but also get them to understand that they're tied to something bigger than them and that the opportunity that is placed in front of them?
That's a good question. I mean, you have to um, 168 hours a week, right?
Yeah.
So it's what we get. I get 8 of those a week. They have 160 other hours on their own, academically, social life. They have to give you 8 good hours a week. And then if you want to be special, you double that, or triple it. I had the privilege of working with Olympic athletes as an intern way back when at the Olympic Training Center. And to be excellent and to be a resident athlete at the USOC, they were putting in days from 6 to 6 in some capacity. And I try to challenge our players, using anecdotes from my past, that if you want to be great, you have to be able to put in the time and the commitment. And you're a salesperson at that point. I had the privilege of coaching Patrick Mahomes, and he would come in the early morning before class, before workouts, and watch tape with Coach Kingsbury. He would do his arm and ab stuff before the workout or after. He would throw more than anybody I've ever seen in my life. But he also had fun. He wasn't just a complete gym rat. But you have to be able to be a salesman and sell your plan and your process of development to these guys.
I mean, you've been like your process of sales and being able to sell it has, I mean, prior like the late 1990s to now in the middle 2020s, like how has that sales process of getting kids to, I mean, at the end of the day, you're still asking kids to lift something heavy, sprint fast, do conditioning, which is lactic in nature and is
Mm-hmm.
unpleasant. How has that, how has the sales process of getting them to want to do the thing changed, even though the thing itself hasn't?
Well, the specialization of football has kind of affected a lot of things. You would get athletes in the late '90s. I was in Sam Houston State in Texas, University of Texas. You had players who were really used to going through off seasons. Um, um, then you had really excellent athletes that were 3-sport athletes. Track, baseball, football, or basketball, and those were the ones that really stood out. But the specialization with camps right now, with 7-on-7, you get a lot of players that, to me, think that they're professional athletes before they've even developed that capacity to be that good. They lack overall development, and so the developmental piece is, to me, even more important than ever. At a time when you're getting players.
Velocity based training is important to use with your athletes. However, you want to make sure you're using VBT at the right time with the right athletes. That's why you need to get in touch with the folks at Vitruve. At Vitruve, they're going to be able to help you with the proper tools to monitor VBT, but they're also going to be able to make sure that you're using it properly. It is often misunderstood, and that is why the folks at Vitruve will make sure that the tools that you use from them are accurate and they're reliable, but also making sure that you're implementing it with the right athletes. Check out Vitruve in the link down below.
On the short end of their career because of the transfer portal, a lot of them come in with 1 or 2 years left. So they're still young men. They're 18, 23, whenever you can catch them. And a lot of them are just not strong enough to be fast for a long time or to have a resilient body that'll last, 14 games. So, how have things changed? It's a myriad of things. You used to have longer off seasons. Now coaches have more install time. More coaches are changing jobs faster because you don't have as much time to stay at a program. You used to get 3 to 5 years someplace. Now it's 1 or 2. So they're always doing installs. Your off seasons are cut short. Instead of going 7 or 8 weeks, you get 5 weeks maybe. And then during that 5 weeks, there's a lot of meetings going on. It's like an NFL model, but you're doing an NFL model with athletes who are physically immature. So it's if you try to take a 1999 program and run copies and run it now, it would be completely irrelevant.
How do you respect the fact of, you have less time, but it's like the thing that we've said here at Strength Coach Network before is like, you can't try twice as hard and have a baby in 4.5 months. The
Yeah.
human body still takes adaptation for skeletal muscle and tendon health and all of the things. How do you still respect those physiological rules of the human body, but understand the new demands that coaches and athletes are under?
That's a good question. I like to be a master of the basics, and I'm copying the strength staff at Army West Point right now. Do simple better. So we squat in some capacity twice a week. We do power cleans, we do hang cleans, we do pocket cleans. We break our exercises down into some very basics that we don't really deviate from. Now we're going to back squat with chains. We're going to back squat with tendo units. We'll squat to a box. We'll squat to a high box. But we're going to do some version of that exercise virtually every day they're here as an athlete. So I want them to be very consistent and well versed in your traditional primary lifts. And we do a lot of single leg too. I'm a big fan of the single leg Hatfield squat. Using chains, using not chains, going mid parallel, going deeper than parallel, in a variety of ways. And it keeps the athletes on their toes. And we give our guys a 3-week worksheet. Every 3 weeks we change the stimulus, but there's still a squat in there. Our linemen are doing Zercher squats, or a Zercher lunge, or Zercher RDL. But they're used to being in these, even though they're different, they're the same movements. And so there's a kind of a programmed redundancy, for lack of a better term, that we do, if that makes sense. And it's not redundancy bad. It's where we are squatting, but we're going at 0.65 or faster today, with chain, with a pause, or maybe it's not a pause. So there's always some little twist in there to keep them activated and on point. I have a variety of little rules. The more rules you have, the more you have to enforce. But the way that we do things might be kind of different sometimes, in that you're either doing your set, you're spotting that set, or you're encouraging, and you're coaching, you're quality control. And so I can look around the room and know who's distracted, what rack is dialed in. And if you're about to get a set of, trap bar deadlifts in, and someone's going, "Let's go, Justin. Let's go, man. Let's go." It's going to give you a natural little impulse to pull. If you hear guys talking about the weekend or whatever, it's a distraction. So, your neurological system's not going to fire the same way. So I like to have guys, you're either doing one of the three, and there's no other option. We're not talking about, your new car or your date you got lined up. There's a focus level that we demand out of our guys, and then a focus level, and then attention to detail and technique. Nobody signs a letter of intent to do a squat max. They want to be football players. So you have to sell your program. Hey, these squats or this pull or this whatever is going to help you prevent injury. And I'm huge on acceleration. It's going to help you produce force in a short area. So it takes a little while, but I think we have a pretty high level of buy-in after, since January to now. And I'm really anxious to get us going here in about a week.
How do you hit the nail on the head in terms of like, keep the main thing with football? How do you and us coaches do that best to serve the student athlete? Is it, putting a premium on the field? Is it understanding, like you said, compensatory acceleration in the weight room? Like, what are some of the best practices for coaches to take away from somebody with your level of experience to get athletes to understand, yes, it is important to be strong in the weight room, but at the end of the day, your job is to get them to be able to play the sport?
Well, with bringing in the transfer portal, guys have a shorter window to prove themselves and to prove their value. And so, where I may have done a longer, like a different program with our freshmen or sophomores, or 3 or 4 different programs, now everybody's doing the same exact thing, just with different weight load, different loads. And Coach Summerall, the reason I had this job is because when he came in and I was at Troy and I was trying to be retained and I was fighting for my career, I told him the best ability is availability. And movement is king, okay? And it doesn't matter how much you can squat, clean, bench, whatever. If you can't get from point A to point B, bend, make the play, then
if you're looking to train your athletes in person or remote, you need to make sure that you're utilizing Team Builder. I have had Team Builder since 2019 and still utilize it with my remote athletes. This makes everything simple, from the ability to program, have videos right there, wellness questionnaires. Loved being able to have it in person at the rack at Towson, and being able to have it in person now at Goldfinch. This has made my life easier as a coach. If you're still printing on paper, I don't know what you're doing. If you have a different software company, again, I don't know what you're doing. Check out Team Builder down in the link below.
you're not going to be effective. And so you sell the athletes on your availability to display your talents. I always tell recruits, I got one coming in tomorrow, I don't create athletes, okay? I enhance athletes. So the reason you're in the weight room right now at Tulane is because you were developed, born with great genetics, and you're already an outstanding athlete. You can run, you can jump. You have these abilities. Now it's my job to enhance those. So we're going to enhance them with traditional lifting, a variety of running techniques. But whenever you can get that relationship where the players trust you, then you can do a whole lot of things, and it's very harmonious.
How were you able to, here, like you said about the transfer portal, that was one of the things I was going to ask you about, and you touched on it. Like, okay, maybe the long-term athletic development model goes out the window, essentially, but how do you respect, some of the age differences, some of the positional differences, some of the injury history differences, while respecting the fact that maybe you have to, like you said, win now, play somebody sooner
Yeah.
than you thought. Like, how do you handle that? But like, all right, if this younger athlete, maybe they don't need to have chains on the bar, how do you logistically handle all that in a weight room?
Yeah, that is a great question. We're going to have guys in the room on next Tuesday after Memorial Day who have, you're going to have, because the way Tulane's weight room is set up and their academic schedule, it's much like the service academies. We have a short window to get it done. So we're going to have skill, mid-skill, and lineman workout.
Yeah.
So with your skill group, you're going to have early enrollees who are 17 years old with a 24-year-old COVID guy. So yeah, there might be a player that, hey, coach, this guy's not ready for change. Okay, we'll have him just work on power squats with 135. This guy's doing 365 with chain at 0.75 meters per second. I mean, so you're going to have all kinds of variety in there, and it's really, really hard to separate. Hey, we got a beginner's block, we got a mid block. I used to do that, but it's kind of out the door now. But we had players coming in from USC who's a 4.340. And so he wants to go to his pro day and run a 4.3 or faster, So you're not going to sell him on, hey, we're going to do, this squat at 0.25 meters per second and watch you just grit and strain and fight, They're not going to bite on that anymore. You have to sell it while we're doing certain things, and there is an injury history, because we're getting players who often have been playing 2, 3, 4 years because of COVID, and some guys' backs, they just can't squat, so you got to find another avenue, reverse hypers, goblet squatting with a kettlebell. I mean, you have to be more imaginative, and you have to kind of think outside the box a lot more than you used to. The days of getting a freshman in at 17 or 18 years of age and seeing him develop from 18, 19, 21, 22, maybe 23 if he red shirts are done. you know. So that's just the way it is. You can complain about it or you can evolve and adapt. So it's been very enlightening. It helps that I have a staff that are all in their 20s. So I can bounce off a lot of ideas. Well, one's 32, but the rest are all in their mid-20s. And they've all coached at Florida State, Tennessee, Illinois. So I can bounce off ideas and like, hey, does this sound too archaic? You know? No, I think they'll like this. Okay. So, but I do have one foot firmly planted in the traditions of our strength conditioning program, you know, of the strength and conditioning profession, you know, that was established in the 70s by Boyd Epley. And then I have one kind of pivoting with all the modern technology and modern trains of thought. Our players are always on Instagram looking at what Oregon's doing, looking at what Bama's doing. How come we're not doing this? How come we're not doing that? So you have to always be able to defend and promote what you're doing. And our players are very smart, you know, across the country. They're very smart young men. And I could say the same thing if I was coaching ladies, but they're very intuitive, and you're not going to, if you're fake or you're doing stuff they don't believe in, it's going to really go off the rails fast.
Hearing somebody like you, you know, knowing your tradition, like I'd love to hear what are some of the things that you think are like traditional things. Again, we just had a conversation with Antonio Squilante from the NSCA, and we talked about older research and Bosco and Verkhoshansky and some of those classics. Like, so what are some things to you that are quote unquote non-negotiable from the tradition? And then what are some of those things that you're pivoting to, you know, nowadays? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Okay. Well, my first strength coach was a guy named Cliff Felkins. And Cliff is still the throwers coach at Texas Tech, and he works their strength conditioning for their throwers. Cliff Felkins was a world-class discus thrower in the 80s at Abilene Christian, and he went on to throw all over the world, and we were doing his workout, okay? It was formulated by some Romanian in the 80s. And what does the discus thrower have to do is generate a lot of force in a small area, accelerate, okay? So I still use a lot of the techniques and the ideas from back then, generating force in a small area. So yes, I do believe in the power clean. I don't snatch. We do a lot of hang cleans, jumping and shrugging, trap bar shrug pulls. And I like to do the deadlift because of the force production and the self-confidence you develop. Okay, now we don't do maxing on it or one rep maxing, but to lock your body in, learn how to brace and go with a substantial amount of weight. We do sumos. Why do we do sumos? Because I think it's great for your groin, great for your insertion of your hamstring. I think it's great for linemen to have great pad level. So, you know, power clean, front squat, back squat, dumbbell jerk, bar jerk, dumbbell split jerk, bar split jerk, RDLs, one-legged squats, pull-ups, weighted pull-ups, rope pull-ups, dumbbell alternating incline, dumbbell alternating bench, a lot of dumbbell rows. And so, you know, we have these exercise selections in it. It's not so extensive that guys can't get good at them. I'm not throwing something new. It's, you know, a bar pendulum row. Well, it's just like this movement we've already done, but there's a slight deviation in it. So, and as far as what is new, it's I mean, we have basically every player in a catapult vest, and you can see how fast and far they're going, and it gives us great feedback on the same day. And I believe 20 miles an hour wins football games. Okay, if you, and you know, it's not going to be dazzling and blow people off the, you know, it's going to blow people away when you see it. But if you can, in the fourth quarter after a 4-hour football game, have players running 20 miles an hour, there's a lot that goes into that from a yearly calendar standpoint. So during spring.
Hawkeye Dynamic is the best option if you're trying to get any force plate data or if you're trying to collect any isometric mid-thigh pulls. Not only can you do isometric mid-thigh pulls for the lower body, but I call it an isometric mid-thigh pull for your upper body, where you're able to do an isometric push-up into something where your back is pushing into a bar and your hands are on the force plate. I utilized Hawkins force plates and Hawkins software when I was at Towson. Still utilize it now when I'm at Goldfinch. If you're using the other competitors, I don't know what you're doing. Hawkins customer service is second to none. Hawkins software and their hardware, again, second to none. Check them out in the link down below.
Spring football, we do 2 build-ups, but before they have to get top end once a week, top end speed once a week. So I can look at our wideouts and go, hey, this guy went 18.6, and he's supposed to be our fastest wideout. This guy went 21.2, and he's just a hard-working guy. What's going on? Well, this guy's got midterms, or, he's something going on, or is he just taking a day off, So it gives us an immediate feedback with the technology of the catapult. Tendo units have been around for a long time, but getting that immediate feedback of how fast the bar is moving. I am huge on velocity-based training. Dr. Brian Mann, if you've ever heard it, do you know who Brian Mann is? He's at A&M now.
Yep.
He is my go-to sensei with sports science these days. He stays on top of a lot of things. He did a presentation in 2017 called "The ACL Epidemic That Should Never Have Happened," and you can look it up and look at the slide presentation. But he changed a whole lot of things that I was doing, and so the modern research now it's already been 2017 to now 7-8 years ago, but it's still pretty relevant. And so taking in some of the modern things as far as injury mitigation, I wish I had known more about the calf, Achilles, ankle system when I was younger. I think working on calf and ankle mobility is can make a profound difference in an athlete. So we do a lot of daily ankle work, and those are some things that I just didn't do in the past. And if you want to fix knees and bulletproof knees, work on their ankles and calves and your Achilles. So, yeah, I could go a long time about this kind of stuff, man.
With respect to the running fast, you spoke to a lot of strength and conditioning coaches, and myself included, because there was a time I'd be in the staff room and the coaches were talking about, practice needs to be fast. And I was like, guys, and I had and had a conversation with the head coach, and he was like, hey, everybody, Justin and I talked about this. And I'd have the opportunity to be like, hey, nobody ran faster than 17 miles an hour today. We have to actually go about letting them hit that top speed. So, how did you go about getting the position coaches on board and understanding it? And then B, what were some practical ways that you like to implement to get them that opportunity?
All right, let's talk about in season. Coach Summerall played at Kentucky. He's coached at high-level places. He's worked with really good strength coaches. He worked at Ole Miss. He worked at Tulane back in the 2011-12 time frame. Of course, he worked at Kentucky. Been around some really good strength coaches, and they understand the importance of speed. And you can't get slower in season. So how we practice, and I really like it, is let's start backwards like a track meet. Because on Saturday you got to be just full out, be able to run fast. On Fridays we do a 1 hour run through. Okay, their helmets, t-shirts, and they are running on the field like a game tempo. We're doing fast. Guys are hitting top speed on Fridays. Not very many reps though. Thursday's a no sweat walkthrough.
Yep.
They have your water bottle. They've been taking their vitamin D before practice. They drink. We give them drip drops, liquid IVs during the 1 hour no sweat walkthrough. Wednesday is a pretty tough practice. Tuesday is the hardest practice.
Yep.
Monday is a flesh out kind of run through, class on grass from the previous game.
Nice.
So our players are not exhausted psychologically, neurologically on Saturdays. They're ready to play the game. And on that Wednesday practice, we do a top end speed. Hey, we are going to go. We do a nice, A skip, A run, straight leg skip, warm up. And we put the players on one side of the field. You got to build up to the far hash, and you have to go. Okay. Your first one's not going to be as fast, but your second one and your third one are going to be go. So we reach top speed in the middle of the week, and I really like it. We had Kamani Vidal, who got drafted by the San Diego Chargers in the 6th round. He played at Troy last year. He played at Troy since 2020. And just an example, Kamani led the nation in rushing until the bowl game, until we played Duke. He led the nation in yards after contact, which I think is a pretty cool stat.
Yep.
And he set the Troy all-time rushing record for a career, the all-time single game rushing record, and the all-time, he scored 5 touchdowns in the conference championship game.
Jesus.
He carried the ball, I believe, 28 times. He ran somewhere around 40 or 50 snaps because he was on the field, for a variety of other plays. His last carry of the game, he went 21 miles an hour and scored a touchdown, about a 46-yard touchdown. Okay? So I hang my hat on that practice prep where guys have to reach top end at least once. And he's kind of a model of what we're asking guys to do. A lot of extra mobility on his own, wanting to be a pro early in his career, and doing the little things that separate you, because between winning and losing in college football is about that much difference, and getting an opportunity to play in the NFL is about that much difference. So he did the little things right, walking around carrying a jug of water, showing up early to work on his mobility, coming in on Sundays when we had the day off and working mobility, doing a mobility circuit. It wasn't anything, too demanding, just keeping his body ready like a professional. And a lot of guys want to spend time playing the game, or out doing stuff. And they think they're going to matriculate to the NFL like they did from 7th grade to 8th grade. And then there's a huge gate guard there. You're going, nope, stop. You're not tall enough. You're not fast enough. You're not good enough. You're not resilient enough, So, yeah, I mean, the importance of getting a top end rep, just 1 or 2 is really paramount.
Amen to that. And you kind of talked about, that example of good leadership and him doing the right thing and leading by example. And in our prior conversation, you talked about how you and your staff would literally watch the players go through an orchestrated training session to see how they would respond to the good and the bad. What are some of the things that you're still doing nowadays to help build leadership? Because as you said, leadership in today's world is different than it used to be back in the day. What are some good strategies for the younger strength coaches out there?
Well, in January and February, we do a thing called the wave gauntlet. And everybody does mat rooms. Everybody does these things for the last 20, 30 years.
Keeping your certification is essential to staying hired as a strength and conditioning coach. Both of our long-form courses, Fundamentals 1 and Fundamentals 2, offer CEUs to the NSCA, the NCSF, as well as the ASCA professional development points. Click the link down below to learn more about our education courses, which are both over 20 hours long and allow you to learn from some of the best practitioners in the field of strength and conditioning.
The gauntlet is a graded, timed event that we do on Wednesdays and Friday mornings, pass or fail. And it's based on competition, execution, and leadership, period. And we grade their body language, we grade their effort, their execution, doing the drill correct or not. Are they leading? Are they following? Are they dragging? And it's a pass or fail event. It took us we failed 6 times and passed on the 7th. I stole the idea from Jeff Munkin at Army West Point. We kind of changed some things and tweaked some things, and Coach Summerall loves it, and it exposes guys so fast as to what their makeup is. Are they selfish? Are they being, I'm not going to label them, but are they being selfish? Are they being soft? Are they gravitating towards comfort zones? Are they trying to be gritty? I love that term, grit. Are they being gritty? Are they being soft? And we rank them every day. Mondays, the hardest thing to do is get a guy faster. Mm-hmm. So during the off season, we work on linear speed, acceleration. But it's atypical these days to do something that's mentally and physically challenging that might not have direct application to football. But we're doing short range agility drills Wednesdays and Fridays until they pass. Once they pass, then we start doing player-led practices, OTAs, football stuff. So we dangle a carrot in front of them that, hey, if you guys will pass this thing and do it right, be selfless, demonstrate attitude, toughness, discipline, and love, which is our core values, then we'll move on to something else. So it kind of gives them the opportunity to embrace maturity, and you give them basically the answers to the test and let them roll.
What has been some of the characteristics of some of the best leaders that you've been able to work with as players? Like what had they done to stand out from their peers?
Okay. Let's go back to Patrick Mahomes. I told you about how he would spend a lot of time studying tape. At the end of practice, when a lot of players have to go to a tutoring session or mandatory study hall, well, Patrick had over a 3.2 or whatever it was GPA, so he was staying out on the field, throwing to equipment managers. He would put his right knee on the goal line and throw different routes across his body. Just do a variety of different throwing drills after he'd already gone for 21 periods. Just putting the time in, having time management skills, having, with Patrick and I learned more from him than he learned from me. Okay, I'm not going to go, hey man, give me half of your Super Bowl rings. No. His father played in the major leagues, was a pitcher, and I bet Patrick's first steps were taken on a major league practice field or baseball, but the ballpark in Arlington or whatever it was. And I think he just had high expectations at a young age. And you have to see the high expectations turn into action when they're early in their career. What does that mean? Well, every Wednesday, every Friday, every Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday, we got football yoga. Okay, with Coach Nick. Are you going to show up for it? Because your pad level is not very good. It has to get better. Your ankle's this. You had a tightrope surgery last semester. Okay, we got to work on your ankle. So you have to sell that and get guys to start formulating. How am I going to work like a pro? James Harrison, you look at that guy, his career, how he's able to play so long because his body was just so resilient, so strong. I like to get our offensive linemen who have a propensity to have high body fat. And hey, I'm not going to torture you on a treadmill or a step mill. We're going to do a bodybuilding session with some medicine ball slams. We're going to do 8 stations, triceps, biceps, shrug, medicine ball slam, single leg, explosive step up, something to get your heart rate going, and lean you down. There's so much time out there. So we just try to sell the idea of having high expectations and create an action plan for those expectations.
How often do you lean into, saying the names of a Patrick Mahomes, James Harris? Like, do kids need to hear that in order to actually listen, or is it able to just be like,
Well,
hey, based off of?
like here at Tulane, uh, we had a quarterback get drafted in the 7th round, so they all know what he was all about. So you can just kind of point to somebody they know. When I was at Troy, every year we had somebody who was successful enough to get into a camp or get drafted. So you can go, hey, you guys all remember Jake Andrews, right? Jake Andrews graduated in 22, got drafted in the 4th round by the Patriots, and is in their top 6 offensive line rotation and center guard, and just a tremendous, tremendous worker. His time consumption and his daily plan was immaculate. He would, Jake Andrews would show up at 5 a.m., watch an hour of tape, come in, do his workout, take care of his class responsibilities, whatever it might be, and just had a daily professional plan. And, well, I'm not going to use Jake Andrews much at Tulane. I don't know who he is. But you find somebody these guys respect, and you say, hey, he was in here doing this and that, before the draft. He was working out every day. He was watching tape. He was whatever. So I do have story time. Our workouts were formulated, and this is kind of I guess I'm letting the secret out of the bag here. First quarter, say on a Monday, first quarter power cleans. Second quarter, we're doing 10-0 bench press or close grip bench press. Halftime, education, 5 minutes, story time, nutrition talk, something relevant to what we're doing. Third quarter, complex. Fourth quarter, push-pull complex. Overtime, group abdominals, group core, something in that capacity. So I had them thinking like a game every workout.
Huh.
So, and then based upon their performance in the workout, I'll say, hey, it's overtime. It's 31-31. We're tied. We're going to do 2 minutes of this, 1 minute of that. If one person breaks, we lose. So you put a little bit of pressure on them, give them a situation, and they like that. They can really bite into that and relate to it. I'm going to give you an example real quick of something. Let's say we got 7 sets of 2 on velocity squats. Okay, 7 times 2. That's 14 perfect reps. You got 40 guys in your room. 40 times 14. 560 reps. We got 560 reps today as a team. If one guy doesn't get his bar speed, we're going to start that entire set over again. Okay? Hey, hey, Marcus, hit 0.6, not 0.65. We're all starting set 4 over again. You got it? Okay. Resume. Boop. So everybody's doing squats. Everybody's doing trap bar, shrug pull. Everybody's power cleaning. The standard has to be exceptional every day. And I think that's something I've been hanging my hat on for a long time. And I'll continue to do that. And I know how many reps we have with every workout. Okay, so you might have to do 1,080 repetitions today with all these different, as a team, with all these different exercises. You personally might have to do 420, whatever it might be. Okay, so you just well, that's probably too many, but somewhere around 150. And we just have to be as close to perfect as we can and get the young men to dial in and focus, because their attention spans, they're all over the place.
That was a question that I had here. How do you respect player personalities within a team environment? Like, how do you let them still be themselves and have the team, like you said, flair, the team, whatever, but understanding that it's a team environment, it's a team first mindset?
That's tough. It's getting tougher. You know, when I played college, we wore leather shoes and played on grass. It was a little bit different. I was number 37. Number 36 was Joseph Crook. Number 38 was Reggie Rowland. We arrived at the same time, and we went to our locker every day for 4 years. So you got to know these guys. Well, Reggie was my roommate. You know, you just get to know guys. You have to get to know your teammates. What was the follow-up part of that question?
Letting players be themselves, having a
Yeah.
personality
Okay.
within a team setting.
Okay. So I want to see friendships develop. All right. And all this kind of me first thing with the portal that can happen. Okay. I want guys to embrace being a part of a team. Okay. I do let, you know, during a workout, you can't just have guys feel like they're in drudgery or having to go to some sort of it has to be a fun environment. But what's usually fun for them is competition.
Yeah.
Okay. So they all love to compete in some capacity, where your velocity-based stuff comes in. We make them wear the same gear. We got Nike shoes. Most of them, you know, we have lifters. You got your Nike lifters, your black socks. You've got your black shorts, your black shirt. We're all going to dress the same. I do ask the guys that have big pendants on their shirts to take their necklaces off, put it in a lockbox. I want them to all represent Tulane University. I usually get the oldest player in the room. Hey, what do you want to listen to? I want to hear Drake or, you know, Little Uzi or whoever it might be. I let them choose the music, the older guy who's a veteran. And, you know, it's a lot of give and take with that question. You do things that are hard. I like to do things that are hard. You and I kind of went back and forth.
Are you expanding and need more equipment inside your current room? Or are you building a new weight room and you need to get some equipment? You need to look no further than Powerlift. I had Powerlift equipment when I was at Harvard, Iowa, and at the University of Maryland. I'm currently utilizing their stuff right now. I'm telling you, Powerlift strong, Powerlift made here in America, here in the great state of Iowa, made, manufactured. You have the ability for customization, whether it's on the bench, whether it's on the upholstery, whether it's on the bumpers, across the rack. There are countless options, making sure it's designed to your specific brand. It's Powerlift made, it's Powerlift strong, it's not cheap like all the other competitors, and the people inside of Powerlift are people that you want to be with. Check them out in the link down below.
It's about the power clean. Well, nobody's going to go after a workout and go, hey, how much you shrug pull today? Even though it's a great effective exercise, okay, we can butt heads on this, but it's, hey, how much you clean, okay? You have to make it engaging and get their attention. And then, you know, like coach has 3 rules: be on time, protect the team, and no energy vampires. So be on time. We have a 10-minute early rule. Protect the team. Don't do anything stupid in public or on campus. The no energy vampires is, you know, the old saying, you can control 2 things about your day. What are they?
What time
What
you wake up and how you respond?
what you can control is your attitude and your effort.
Effort. Okay. Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
So as long as a guy is giving me his attitude is positive, receptive, and their attitude and their effort is sound in what we're asking for, I let them be who they are. Maybe they do want to dance a little bit. I mean, maybe they're feeling it in a different way, but as long as they're showing emotion in some capacity. But again, you're lifting, you're spotting, or you're encouraging quality control. So during a team runs, we always have a standard at the drill, a standard of execution. And if we have a loaf or a guy does something wrong, we make a tick mark. Okay? All right. So Brian had 2 loafs. All right, guys, we had 17 loafs today during our speed training. That's on the high end of our loafs. We got 10 effort sprints. And an effort sprint is sideline to the near hash and back, max effort. And you know what that looks like, if the guy's going to let up or not. So we're always holding a standard no matter what we're doing. If it's agility, if it's linear, if it's, short area quickness day or whatever it might be. And we are grading their effort and their execution. So when you do tough things together, you draw teams close. And, great friendships are forged by shared misery, I guess you can say.
Yeah.
But I let guys be who they are. I'm not. It's way too late in the game to change who they are. But you have to influence their work ethic and their focus as young men.
I would caveat the pull versus the clean and just let them compete on the vertical jump, right? Like you'd be let them talk trash on how high they jump with the weighted stuff, like in that, like
on the jump mats,
yeah, because it'll be like, all right, hey, well, instead of cleaning, what we would do is they would do either an RDL. Or they would do a clean grip deadlift and then they would do a weighted jump. And then that's where I encourage, like, hey, talk trash. Like I literally would be like, show me who's going to jump higher. Like call out your teammates. So that way it's like, no, jump higher, bro. Like I just jumped 22 inches holding 50-pound dumbbells. What are you going to do, bro? Like call them out that way.
That's good. That is good. Yeah. I like that. What I have noticed using the velocity-based training is you always have to pull guys back. They're trying to go heavy and fast.
Yep.
They're trying to they're not getting deep enough. They're going too slow, too heavy. So, but I know they're trying to compete. And as long as they're trying to compete, I'm not going to berate them. I'm just going to say, hey, speed is the name of the game. Okay? And whenever you talk to I love talking to players who I've coached who are playing at the next level in the NFL. Hey, what was the first thing you noticed? Speed. The speed is incredible. So I'm always talking about, hey, we got to, when push comes to shove, we have to move this weight faster. Okay? We're not worried about slow and steady pressing or squatting. So as long as they're trying to do the right and they're trying to compete, man, I'm all about that. We encourage it.
Amen.
We may have to do a set over it again because they went too slow, but I'm not going to berate a guy for, Coach always talks about you can't be demeaning. You can be demanding, but you can't be demeaning.
Yep.
So, and that's another thing that I've had to, you're coming out of the Army and, I coached for 9 years, thought I knew something, joined the Army, went overseas, worked with some amazing guys, and then you come back out of that experience as a coach, and there were some demeaning parts of Special Forces School, okay, and they would eviscerate you, and you can't do that to college athletes. When you're talking about a life or death situation with keeping your weapon functional in a terrible environment, or being able to function with 4 days of not sleeping or eating, that's one thing. But you have to kind of give and take and find applicable things from my background. But just stealing a kid's hope and embarrassing him in front of his teammates doesn't work. Can't do it. You always got to make them feel like when they leave the workout, they learn something they can apply the next day.
Amen. And one of the things that I want to talk about now that we talked about via texting before was it's kind of on that where you're demanding and you're actually supporting the player. And it was when Coach Summerall got mad on the sideline, and we talked about how, like, hey,
Oh yeah,
he's
yeah.
showing that he cares for the athlete. And like for me, and I talked about this with Coach Ted Rath, who worked at the Rams when Coach McVay would be on the field and he'd pull him back. And we talked about the fact that, like, look, he was doing that because McVay is like, listen, I'm caught up in trying to call the play. And so that was him helping the team out. But he also said that when he worked with the Lions, where Jim Caldwell would told his assistants, he's like, listen, if I have to, or if Ted has to tell you to step back more than a couple times, I question how disciplined you are. He's like, so I see it both ways. So I'm kind of leaving it open to you to just, again, like, where is that line between, okay, this is like, I'm defending my players and I'm preaching discipline, but where does that lie is my question.
I know what you're talking about. It was Coach Summerall's very first game as a head coach at Troy. We were at Ole Miss.
Oh, that was the first game?
Yeah, we were at Ole Miss.
Okay.
It was either the first or second game. We were at Ole Miss, though. It was about 120 degrees on the turf. And you had an SEC environment. And we had SEC officials. And there was a blatant bad call. Coach Summerall has a very short fuse, but there's a lot of, and it's all applicable why he does things like that. And every coach does it. It's like a major league manager walking out on the field on a hit batter or something. And he's going to defend that player and beat their ass because he wants everybody in the stadium to know, hey, I'm into having his back. I want everybody to know that I'm having his back. So Coach Summerall will get theatrical. It's just part of the job of one of those kind of hidden jobs of a head coach for everybody to know, hey, he's going to pitch a fit for his team. So, I remember what you were talking about that as far as being an example of discipline, but there's a level of passion too that I think he was exhibiting, and he wanted those officials to know he wasn't going to be a pushover, and coaches know that if they can get a call, that if they can protest a call, they might get a break later in the game, So he usually stays very composed. I think he was so excited being early in his career, head coaching career. I think he may have been a little too amped up. But I do understand why they do that, and it's just like a Major League Baseball manager, or you can break it down into different kind of other, or hockey for that matter. Why do they fight all the time? Because they're trying to show, hey, we're gonna have a big backbone here,
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean, especially me, like, there's a video of me on, it's pinned on my Twitter of when our quarterback got late hit out of bounds at Wisconsin. And it was like, essentially, like, I had the players back, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I see both sides, and that's where, like,
Yeah.
I have to learn to understand, like, yeah, there's rules, but then there's rules to, sometimes you have to break them and move
Yeah.
outside of that
Well,
parameter. You know what I mean?
what I understand, like what Coach McVay, when he is so in tuned to that offense and calling plays and looking at formations and looking how the defense is adapting. It's almost like he gets drawn into it, and that's why that guy has to yank him off the field. But the level of competitiveness that these guys have to have, and that we all have, I mean, like I've said earlier, you can't slide a credit card between the difference of winning and losing. So I understand the passion behind that. And I mean, shoot, man, when I'm interviewing somebody for a job, the first thing I want to hear out of their voice is passion. And if I don't hear that, then somebody else is going to get the job. So I appreciate Coach Summerall's passion. I appreciate, when I see a coach that's just really into it. I had the privilege of getting to know Bobby Knight, and that his name might be a bad word for some people. But when I was at Texas,
So.
Yeah, well, some people think that he was a bully or whatever. But I got to know Coach Knight in Lubbock,
Are you or your athletes waking up too hot or too cold in the middle of the night? Or are you looking for a sleep tracker option that doesn't involve wearing a ring or a wrist or a watch, something on your body? Then you need to look no further than the company Sleep Me. Sleep Me makes chili pads, which keep your bed cold or warm depending on what you want. And they also have a tracker that will go underneath that pad so it will be able to tell how well you slept. When I did a little study on myself with the Aura Ring and with the Sleep Me tracker, they were within 97% of each other, and it was actually pretty astonishing how similar the two were. I love my chili pad. It makes me sleep great. I sleep cold. I actually wake up cold now. I haven't woke up warm. And pretty much ever since I've had it, I don't like sleeping on the road because I don't have the ability to use my chili pad. Bunch of former colleagues back at Towson got it. My stepmother got it. Check it out in the link down below.
And damn, man, he was so insightful, and just the love he had for his players and the love he had for basketball, and love being love he had for being a teacher. And he coached some guy named Mike Krzyzewski who did pretty good. So, I mean, there's a carryover there and a lineage, a tradition. And so there's a book out there that he wrote called The Power of Negative Thinking. And what it is, the whole book is about seeing the warning signs of complacency and attacking complacency in every capacity in an organization. It's good for business leaders. It's good for coaches. It's not an X's and O's book, but it is really pretty awesome book as far as, the number one problem with organizations is it's going to cause failure is complacency and being lethargic. And so, yeah, especially with young men, So I hang my hat on fighting complacency.
That was something that we really did a lot at Iowa too. Like Coach Doyle would talk to the coaches about, like, look, you can't put a premium on, like, oh, beating Ohio State or Michigan, like that's not worth 2 wins versus, oh, you only beat Illinois, it's worth 1. He's like, you can't play down to that level of competition, and trying to get the coaches to understand that, and the players, because human nature, you can try to play down to your opponent. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Where's the question at in that?
Oh, just the fact, like, what is, I guess, your what is your way of helping coaches and athletes understand that and making sure that they don't avoid the complacency and they don't put a higher premium on certain games and certain teams?
Well, at our level, anybody can beat anybody. Jacksonville State beat Florida State a few years ago. Remember that game?
Yep.
And turned their season on their head, and they had some great athletes. With the transfer portal, we're playing Southeastern Louisiana game 1, and they're going to have dudes. They're going to have a guy who played at LSU or a guy who played at Arkansas or this guy or that guy. So anybody can. And as soon as somebody gets confidence, gets some momentum, you never know what's going to happen. I just putting a focus on, like I was saying earlier, daily execution, attitude, effort, details. The devil's in the details. Attention to detail. I put ATD on every workout. So after an emotional victory, you're always going to have an emotional letdown. And you've got to really, really fight to keep guys. And that's something that our coaching staff at Troy, and remains to be seen here at Tulane, but we were always, we went on a 11-game win streak and a 10-game win streak. We played some really good teams. And you just always, hey, flush that game. These guys can beat us. Got to get our ship going and live in the moment, live in the day, not the past. We encourage celebrating on a Saturday night when you win. We encourage it. And, hey, go out, protect the team, but have fun, because when you wake up on Sunday morning, it's all over. So.
One of the last questions that I have here for you is, how do you draw, you talked about it with you can be demanding but not demeaning. how do you use your expertise from your, career in the service and military to impact wisdom on players and coaches? Because I'm sure coaches want to, obtain knowledge from you that you work with on your staff.
That's a good question. Um, I think just having a philosophy that you stick to, you believe in, and that philosophy has morphed over time. But I believe in doing difficult things. I believe in coaching every rep, giving positive or negative feedback every set, every rep, um, getting young men to compete. Um, again, the more rules. I used to have 15 rules in the weight room, and now it's just those three. Um, but what I hang my hat on is, you use words like grit and toughness, and that's been used ad nauseum. But what all that is consistency. Getting up, having a set time you get your feet on the floor every day, facing the day with a good plan. What the military taught me was, you can write this down if you want. It's called a PACE plan, P-A-C-E. You have a primary plan, an alternate plan, a contingency plan, and an emergency plan for everything. For everything. Okay? If I get caught in traffic or I get broadsided by a bus, okay, and I can't make it to workouts, what's the primary alternate contingency plan for how we're going to do things? Okay? Coach Kenyon, you got the ball. You're running the show. If we can't do this workout because of lightning and we don't have an indoor, what is going to be our alternate? What's going to be our contingency? What's going to be our emergency? So, and also, I have that for how I interact with players. My primary is, hey, eye contact, you're dialed in, you're a pro. Well, alternatively, if he's not that kind of guy, he's had some issues in the past. How are you going to handle that guy? Then you got a contingency for the guy who may be combative, okay? Because if a guy can play, they're willing to put up with some stuff, right? You're not going to win a conference championship with a bunch of choir boys. And then you got your emergency, your kid or your player who's legitimately about to flunk out, behavioral issues are going to push him out of the program. But I have a plan for everything. And you never want to be seen panicking or caught off guard with any kind of situation. So I hang my hat on that. And I've given some of our coaches that little nugget, and I know they like that. Sticking to, like I talked earlier, sticking to a core group of exercises you believe in and getting good at them. Okay. I do believe that, this might be taken a variety of ways by an audience, but it's not my job to get a guy ready for the NFL Combine. It's my job to get a guy ready to win football games and be resilient. And if you're on defense, you may have to play a snap every 20 seconds. Or if you're playing against Oklahoma State, they may snap the ball every 14 seconds. How you get faster is you have to run fast, say 30 yards, and you get full recovery, right? That's how you get faster. But also there's a component of, hey, we've got to be able to go. We got 20 seconds, we got to go again. Those aren't fun days, okay? Those are not. You're going to have guys sucking air, vomiting, whatever it might be, but you have to get guys ready to play in a tempo system. Maybe it's offensively or defensively. So I hang my hat on doing one day a week where, hey, this isn't combine stuff. This isn't flashy. This isn't Instagram famous stuff. This is grit. Okay, this is winning in the fourth quarter with 1 minute left in the game kind of stuff, because you're a little bit faster, a little bit more. And what happens when a player gets exhausted? They make mental mistakes. Okay, so I hang my hat on that. We are going to make fewer mental mistakes because we're not going to be as tired. So again, I could chirp on about this a lot, but I do have one foot firmly planted in a philosophy I've had for a long time.
What's that? What was that philosophy?
Well, like I said, having a core group of exercise you believe in, doing gritty stuff, being disciplined, attentive, the be on time, protect the team, energy vampire thing. When you call a kid an energy vampire, they know they're on the ropes in our program. Every off season, are we all okay on time?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so in May when finals start, we do a player evaluation with every player. They get a 15-minute slot. It's me, the football chief of staff, Coach Summerall, and the player. And we evaluate them from the weight room, football, academics, community, everything. They get a complete evaluation. We ask them, hey, what can we do better? We give them feedback. So they feel like they have a voice too, and they do have a voice. But if a player is labeled an energy vampire, being selfish, a complainer, they are on the ropes. Okay, they are, and they know that. So, as long as with all the chaos of the NIL and all of the transfer portal stuff, if you can maintain a standard, okay. There's another thing is a high standard. If you can somehow maintain your standards and not morph the standard to each player, but hold a high set of that everybody has to grab up and reach, I think you're going to be better off and you're going to have an advantage on other teams. So
it sounds like you guys have that standard and you have a head coach that supports you with that. So that's the number one thing that you want as a coach. So kudos to you, and that's awesome to hear.
well, you're going to find you've been coaching a long time, and you've probably seen this too. In 6 to 8 weeks of an off season, I can get the guys all on the same heartbeat. The coaches are out recruiting, okay? Getting an alignment of top down from the head coach, offensive line, defensive line, cornerbacks, wideouts, getting every coach to speak the same language because you're always piecing together a new staff. Yep. Get the coaches to have the same alignment as your strength coach, as your players. It's difficult. And you can't have any sideshows, you can't have a position coach go, hey, man, which is being Whitt. We're going to do it this way. Coach Summerall lines it all up. We're all going to say this. We're all going to have this attitude. We're all going to, promote this ideology, and it's called alignment. And that's really difficult to acquire, and that's something that Coach Summerall is really good at is overall program alignment. If a kid misses a class, he knows he has to come see me, and we're going to do something, And it doesn't matter if he's a 3-year starter or a brand new high-value transfer from, South Carolina. It doesn't matter. We are all going to have the same standard.
The standard remains the standard, everybody. Coach, I greatly appreciate you taking over an hour out of your day to talk to us. This has been very insightful for me. As you see, I got tons of notes here.
Okay.
I love the pace. This has been great. Thank you so much for sharing with all of us. You have a great rest of your day and have a very successful season.
Hey, I appreciate it. Good luck, everybody out there. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Congratulations on making it to the end of the video. Why don't you celebrate by watching more videos just like it? You can also help us on our quest to placate the algorithm gods by liking, sharing, subscribing, and commenting. Thank you.